It's time for the Daily Planet podcast show. So sit back, relax, and give us a go. Scott and Matt and maybe a guest have undertaken an epic pod quest. We're gonna ramble on about movies and books and television and directors and film festivals and this really long list of stuff that I know nothing about, but they gave it to me and they really wanted me to read through it. And that's all I can really say about it, but it's gonna be great. Okay, start the show.
Hello, and welcome to the Daily Planet Podcast, your weekly podcast for all things movies, TV, books, and anything else we feel like talking about. My name is Scott Daly, and I am your host, and I'm joined this week by my co-host and America's Next Drag Superstar, Matt Freeman. Matt, good luck, and don't fuck it up.
Oh, it's great to be here, Scott. I'm very happy to be on this contest show, competing for. Oh no, I fucked it up, Scott. I apologize.
Man, that was the long game right there, Matt. Yes, this week, if you haven't noticed by the title, we are here to discuss the reality television show RuPaul's Drag Race, specifically season 4 of that show. Matt, this is a very different kind of show topic for us. I don't think we've ever done an episode quite like this. Why are we doing this?
Well, Scott, that's because it's time for another episode of our backer reward program. Those that have pledged to us at the $20 level get the opportunity to pick a topic, any topic, and have us talk about it. This time around, it was Patron MurderDeatHug who decided that we needed a little more RuPaul in our lives. So here we are, ready to talk about this show.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to dive into this. I think this was a very new experience for both of us, and I hope we have an interesting conversation. I hope we do MurderDeatHug proud. But first, Matt, we got to do the news.
This is Daily Planet News. I don't like that.
All right, Matt. This is the news. We got a bunch of comic book news again, because that's apparently what we fall back on most. That's what the most news in the film world, Matt, is comic book news.
That makes sense.
It just happens that way. I can't help it.
It's most movies now at this point, right?
That is true. The first item this week is just over a month and a half until the release of the Avengers Infinity War. We finally got a full-length trailer, Matt. All we had until this point was a teaser, or a couple teasers. We finally got a full-length trailer. So let's talk about it, Matt. Let's
sure.
Talk about this trailer. What did you think of it?
It's a well-made trailer. It kind of successfully, everyone is familiar with how jaded and cynical I am about Marvel at this point, but it made me feel the correct emotions, and I'm actually excited to see how they do this. It seems like there's going to be a lot of focus on those characters that we love to see, and it's going to be some dire situations. And the villain looks great. Thanos looks great. I anticipate that being like a good point for the movie, actually.
Yeah. There was an article with the Russo brothers that came out along the same time with this trailer, and they actually said that the characters that the film will focus on most, the two characters the film will focus on most, are Thanos. They actually said in a certain way you can look at this as Thanos' film. This is his movie, and the other character, surprisingly, was Thor. So those are the two kind of biggest characters they're going to focus on in this whole thing. Although they have like 30, is there like 30 of them?
Wow, is it?
I don't know if it's that much, but
that's wonderful to hear, because Thor is my favorite character. Is a sentence that I never thought I would say.
Yeah, and it isn't like, remember when we were like, Avengers, you can't have 6 superheroes in one movie. That's too much. That was so quaint now. Six is easy. I'm pretty excited. I think this trailer kind of sets out to specifically give us a handful of interactions between characters. We have Star-Lord interacting with Iron Man. We have Spider-Man interacting with
Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Doctor Strange. we're like specifically setting out to show like, look, here are our characters interacting. This is what you're going to get from this movie. And I do like that. Although the tone of this thing is probably going to be a little more dire than most of the Marvel fare, I like that they're showing us that they're still going to have some fun with it. I mean, I like Spider-Man's joke, oh, we're using our fake names. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's really great.
Yeah, even though his name is actually Doctor Strange.
Yeah. So I mean, of course, I was kind of always a homer for this thing. I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I'm excited for each and every movie. I was saying for a while that I was more excited about Ant-Man and the Wasp than Infinity War. I think I'm still probably that way just because I enjoyed Ant-Man so much, and this sequel looks very interesting. But yeah, this trailer definitely got my attention. It is cool to see kind of this culmination happening.
I'll tell you, the thing about it that I'm most already tired of is the part where there's like a large army of people running at a large army of monsters. And it's like, hey, that's the part that everyone hated about Black Panther, and you're just doing it again for some reason. So hopefully that's minimal.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. It's all Lord of the Rings' fault, technically.
Yeah, you're right.
Thanks, Battle of Pelennor Fields. You ruined everything.
I know.
The thing with that was, here's why I think it might work, because the Battle of Pelennor Fields in Lord of the Rings was a build-up. This was a defining moment from 3 movies worth of stuff like paying off here. And so hopefully this will feel the same way in Infinity War, that this is a kind of a big moment for those characters. This is a big moment for Captain America. It's a big moment for Black Panther. And hopefully it feels like a culmination. It feels like that.
Yeah. That's interesting. If I may go on a brief tangent, I mean, I think the reason the Battle of Pelennor Fields like works is that it's a context in which there are several excellent story moments, like Theoden's death, for example, and Éowyn defeating the Witch King, that you're like, that's actually what I'm here for. But of course that can only like that's elevated by there being this great battle around it. So I think that's the lesson. If you're going to have a huge CGI battle, there needs to be some worthy story moments embedded in it that make it worthwhile that you had this battle in the first place, basically.
Yeah, I think that's right. And it's very easy to fall back and just show the 2 armies clashing and then just show insert shots of each one of them fighting random mindless things, and then we move on to the next plot point. Yeah. I like, people are all like, oh, people are finally going to die in this one. Everyone's excited because people are probably going to die because contracts are coming up, which is just, it's just silly, Matt. It's silly. I don't care. Like, we've had this rant on my behalf before, but you don't need death to define stakes. It's a silly argument. And yes, people might die in this, but I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. That's it for this one. Let's move on to the next piece of news. Also comic book related. Matt, Ava DuVernay, who just directed A Wrinkle in Time, has officially signed on to direct DC and Warner Brothers' adaptation of Jack Kirby's New Gods, which do you know? Are you familiar with the New Gods? Because I'm not.
Very vaguely. I kind of poked around Wikipedia just after all of the Steppenwolf stuff to be like, what is all this? And I got a general sense of it, but I certainly never like read the comic books and kept up with it or anything like that.
Yeah, me too. I did not. I definitely did not. I like comic books, but I'm not quite as into them to go down the rabbit hole of all these different things. Especially these were first 1970s comics, I believe. Yeah, because we have a handy synopsis here by Deadline, who broke the story. You want me to read this, Matt, so we can tell the world?
Let's do it.
All right. The New Gods was the genesis of the uber villain Darkseid. Also called Fourth World, the Kirby creation debuted in a trilogy of related comics written and drawn by Kirby that were published in the very early 1970s. New Gods, Forever People, and Mr. Miracle. The New Gods came into existence after the world of the gods of classic mythology were destroyed during Ragnarok. The deities inhabited 2 planets. One is New Genesis, a lush paradise, and the other Apocalypse, which sounds like Dante's version of hell. War ensues. So basically, I think what we can expect from this thing is a pretty massively scaled movie that's kind of really weird and out there. And that sounds a lot like the thing that Ava DuVernay just did, which was her adaptation of A Wrinkle in Time. But that movie wasn't too good, Matt. So
Okay.
I don't know what to think about this.
I'm mildly, cautiously, slightly optimistic that at least we'll get some cool visuals out of it.
Yeah.
Honestly, this seems like the kind of thing that I might actually see just to be like, that was, I don't know, for the same reason that I saw Justice League, that I'm just kind of like, I sometimes I just want to watch spectacular punching.
Yeah.
Even though I don't expect it to be a great film. So that's okay.
Yeah. And I like I'm kind of two minds about this, because on the one hand, I love that Ava DuVernay is continuing to have success. That's a really weird. It's a really weird.
It's a good Freudian.
Oh boy.
Maneuver right there.
Yeah. She's continuing to have success, and that's great. And even though A Wrinkle in Time was not very well critically received and is not making big bucks, she's going to continue to see that success. But I'm also kind of disappointed that, like, I guess the route that she's decided her career is going to go is going to be these huge movies. This is going to be a very time consuming project for her, and she's probably not going to make these small movies that I really liked, the Selmas and the 13th. That's the kind of films I want to see out of her. So on the one hand, happy for her. Think she could do something interesting with this property, and God knows DC needs it. But on the other hand, I don't want to see. I want to see directors like make the things that they really, really want instead of being part of this big machine.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see.
Speaking of directors joining big machines, Spike Lee is gonna maybe direct a Spider-Man spin-off movie for Sony.
All right.
Yeah, Spike Lee.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So the rumor here is that he's circling to direct, almost signed on, but nothing is official yet. The Marvel character Nightwatch, which is another character I do not know very much about. But this is a film that's supposedly written by Luke Cage showrunner Chio Coker. That's based on the African-American scientist Dr. Kevin Trench, who was first introduced in the comics in 1993. Again, Nightwatch is not a character I'm super familiar with, but this is part of Sony's like plan that even though they've given the Spider-Man rights or lent the Spider-Man rights out to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're going full speed ahead with all their side character movies. So we got the Venom movie coming out this year. Silver and Black is a movie that's coming next year, and Nightwatch is going to be one of these as well. So Spike Lee, very, very interesting. I didn't see him going this route, but maybe there was something he liked in the idea.
Yeah, I imagine this is something we'll have to see what else comes out in order to formulate a real opinion on what this might be and whether we expect it'll be good.
Yeah. I think a lot of this whole plan, once again, like Sony's, I think, like getting ahead of themselves a bit. Let's see how Venom comes out and see what that movie ends up being and if it does well, and then maybe build off this universe. But they're doing that corporate thing where we need these movies planned years in advance because we got to be able to throw them out as fast as possible to compete with Marvel.
Yeah, good point.
But we'll see. That's Nightwatch. I think there's no rumor on when that's actually going to come out, because I don't even know if there is a script yet. Just that it will be written by that Luke Cage showrunner, which is a show I didn't really like, Matt. So I don't know. I just have very little faith in Sony's ability to do anything with this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my prior is that it's probably not going to be something I'd be interested in, just kind of as a baseline. But I've been surprised before.
Yeah, and it's Spike Lee, who I think is one of the greatest directors ever. He's I don't always love his movies, but I always find them fascinating.
Yeah. It usually takes more than just a great director to make these things work, though. But
that is true. Yeah.
All
right. So that is it for the news this week. Let's move on to the main event. Let's talk about RuPaul's Drag Race.
Begin drag droid construction.
season 4 specifically of RuPaul's Drag Race, because that's the one we were asked to watch.
Yep.
And I guess the first thing we should do is say what this thing is, because my guess is that a lot of our listeners out there are in the same spot we are, where we didn't know much about this show before we were asked to sit down and watch it. So, Matt, can you explain quickly, if you can, what RuPaul's Drag Race is?
Well, it's not a drama about drag racing, which is what I thought it was when I first heard about it. What it turns out to be, or is it? What it turns out to be is a reality TV show contest, which I'm probably going to make a lot of comparisons to America's Next Top Model, because that's the most similar reality TV show that I'm actually familiar with. But it's a reality TV show contest where the contestants are all drag queens. There are
14.
14, yeah, that looks about right. 14 contestants in this season. And each of the episodes, of course, is some kind of creative, usually quite fun to watch contest. And of course, in standard reality TV fashion, you can win the contest and get immunity, or you have to, if you are in the bottom 2, then you have to lip sync for your life, which is always entertaining.
Your life.
And
so dramatic.
Yeah. Like everything in the show, so dramatic. And then, of course, elimination, etc. And then you end up with one winner. It was a very interesting experience for me.
Yeah. So I asked MurderDeatHug why he picked this season specifically, because I was just curious. We basically told him we can't watch this show's been on for like 10 years. We can't watch the entirety of it. Give us a season. And he picked this one, and he said it's because this is kind of the beginning of the modern era of Drag Race, but just before it started getting too overproduced. So I haven't seen any other seasons of the show than this, but I guess they said it was like it got a little too ridiculous, which I think is kind of believable.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good opening to talk about what was really great about this, which is like, it was actually much more entertaining than, for example, America's Next Top Model, which is conceptually very similar. The challenges are more interesting, more visually interesting, more fun. The ideas are more creative. The dialogue, I'm calling it dialogue because like so much of what people say on the show is clearly written.
Yeah.
And not just off the cuff, but you don't mind, like you're not rolling your eyes like, oh, this is fake. It's like, no, yes, it's a contest, and who wins the contest is not fake, but there's definitely a lot of like, structuring to pull it off well. And it's very, very well conveyed and very well executed.
Yeah. And so I guess we should start here. We're two straight white guys that live in America. I think both of our experience with drag queens were rather limited. I know who RuPaul is, and I think that's a testament to how famous RuPaul is. That I have never really experienced drag queens or that subculture at all, but I knew of RuPaul, and I've seen RuPaul on some other shows and things I watch. The thing that jumps to mind is the show Broad City, which is a Comedy Central show. Yeah, Comedy Central show. And RuPaul was a guest star on that for a couple seasons, and she was great on it. But I know very little about this subculture. The only window into this I have is the Birdcage, and that was it. So we went into this thing knowing nothing, and if I'm being completely honest, Matt, I was pretty hesitant at the start of this. I had heard that like people really liked the show and it was a lot of fun, but I was worried that I don't know, are we gonna have things to say about this? Like I am not a huge fan of reality television in general. So doing a podcast on a reality television show just struck me as something that I didn't know if I was going to do it. And there were a couple times when I was like, okay, maybe we just need to message MurderDeatHug and be like, we got to do something else, man. Cause I don't know what to do. But then I actually sat down and watched it, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed everything that was happening. And this is a fun show. It is a lot of the problems I have with the show are the same things I have with every other reality television show. But I just think it's a blast.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm definitely biased against reality television. I haven't watched any of it in many years, and I have a generally negative view of it. And definitely like for the first, I'd say like half hour of starting to watch this show, my brain was making that sound that like old hard drives used to make when they were having to do a lot of read-write operations, as I was like trying to process and like get my head around, because the first the first part of the experience of watching the show for me was just like figuring out what this whole drag scene is about and what the norms are and what's acceptable and what the people in the show care about. Essentially what the criterion for judgment are going to be was something that I continually had to update over the course of watching it, because I'm like, on some other generic show, you might be able to just kind of know like, oh yeah, this person's going to win because they did the best job at the thing, and you can just judge it objectively. But I don't have like the calibrated senses to know like what exactly they're looking for on this show. And what's cool though is I feel like over the course of watching this season, I actually came to understand it and be like, not only do I now get it, but I actually like, it's just basic aesthetics really. And I probably, spoiler, like my favorite drag queen in the first episode was the one who won the contest. So yeah. I guess on some level, my senses of aesthetics was, in line with the shows, and that makes sense. It's just I wasn't sure if it was going to be, so I was constantly trying to pay attention to what they were judging based on.
Yeah, it's very interesting because like from the outside perspective, you hear the word drag queen and you think, oh, it's a dude that dresses up like a woman, and that's it. And you don't realize, I mean, yes, on the most basic level, it is that, but the work that goes into this thing. I mean, these women make their own costumes, and they have to, like, the complex nature of forming their body and their face to make it look more feminine is super complicated, and it takes a lot of talent and a lot of hard work. And you don't realize that until you see them sit down and do it. And then, like, you're watching these people make their costumes, and you're looking at them and saying like, this is not going to look good, and then they get on out that runway and you're like, damn, that's like, that thing turned out pretty good. How did that work? And I think that's part of the draw of the show. And like, I'm not a person that's really interested in fashion. Like that's not something I care about a lot, but it was pretty, you kind of get wrapped up in seeing their concepts go from this general idea to how it's being executed on the stage.
Yeah, I was really impressed. The winners, the top handful were all clearly like really good actors, really skilled like artisans of like their clothing and their makeup and their persona, for lack of a better word. And just consummate performers, basically. Like because in order to get to that level of the show, they had to be extremely skilled performers in the first place. And some of these women had been doing this for many years and were indeed like better at being drag queens than I am at anything. So.
Right. Like the oldest one I think was Chad Michaels, who was the Cher impersonator. And they were really, really good at it. It's just very fascinating to like, I mean, some of these women, like if you didn't know this was a drag queen competition, you would be like, that's just a girl walking down a runway in a kind of ridiculous, like all the costumes are kind of intentionally over the top and like intentionally too much makeup and because it's part of the fun, but like, they're like, wow, that's a woman walking down that runway.
Yeah. I mean, my brain definitely saw them as women, which
I think is the point. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure what the correct terminology is there, but I'm just objectively making the statement that my brain saw them as women.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, like, as much as I feel after one season of this thing, I understand so much more about this culture. I fully also cop to the fact that there are facets of it that I don't understand at all. So I know that I did a little research about, you know, the difference between being a drag queen and being transgender, and those are very different things. There are some transgender people that are drag queens, but just because you're a drag queen does not mean you're a transgender. That's the understanding that I got out of it, which was good to learn. I think, like, the more you understand about these different people, the better I think you can understand them, which I think is really important. And I think that's one of the things this show lets you do too, is you get to see these people as people, and not just, that's a guy dressing up as a girl. And
yeah,
it's very easy and safe to just write someone off. And watching the show kind of forces you to look at these people as human beings, which I think so many people tend to not.
Yeah, can we talk about that for a bit? That's great, because again, I guess I've probably watched more reality TV than I realized, because it's just so ubiquitous. But like, this show did a fantastic job of highlighting certain of the challengers, and really showing them in a way that made you like them and want them to succeed. And you just really cared about them and their struggle, and you kind of came to understand that this is kind of a hard life that they're on. And it kind of conceptually won me over fairly quickly.
Yeah, I mean, like, and there's very standard things you do in reality television, right? Like, you have the confessional interviews, and you have people normally have the difficult pasts that kind of win the audience over. But this is one of the shows where it felt more real, because these you can tell these people have had tough lives. They've been doing something that they love, but that ostracizes themselves from most of the world, and in some cases specifically their families. And I think that does endear you to it. Like, these people like to choose to do this, to want to do this, you really have to love yourself and just love it so much. And I think that comes through. Yeah,
absolutely.
And it comes through like in different ways than a lot of the other reality TV shows that I've said, that it's just like, okay, it's sad story time. We have to switch to telling a sad story, cue the sad music. And there's also, like, there was not the hero villain dichotomy that I see in a lot of other reality TV shows. I mean, there was a lot of bickering between these people, like a lot, but not as much as a lot of the other shows I've watched. Like, my wife makes me watch The Bachelor, and those women fight so much more than any of the women on this show did.
Yeah, the conflict here seemed just more like this was who these people are, and it wasn't being played up.
Right.
I don't know. Like, it's hard to put my finger on it exactly, but it just simultaneously, I recognize that it was very produced, yet also, I feel like outside of that framework of the show, you were seeing these candid moments of interaction, and they were always like, whether they were heartwarming or made you kind of pull at your collar due to them being awkward, because there were definitely some of the contestants were much more aggressive and underhanded than others, and that's kind of a trope of the genre. But it just seemed like, that person is probably like that. Actually, that's just them. It's not a reality TV, quick edit to make them seem worse than they are. That may have happened. I'm not saying that didn't happen.
Oh, I'm sure it did. But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
There's apparently like a spin-off show called RuPaul's Drag Race Untucked, which is hilarious, that has like the behind-the-scenes interviews, like when the judges are talking and all the girls are sitting in the Absolute vodka room, the branded room. Uh-huh. Apparently there's like all kinds of like talking and drama and fighting that goes on in that. And they kind of spun it off into its own show, which I find interesting on its own, because I think any other reality television show takes that and wants to push that back into the main show because you want to highlight and push the drama. And this seemed more focused on, like, there were times where it fell into the drama because you kind of have to, but this seemed more focused on the competition itself and the empowerment that this whole thing brings to these people.
Yeah, I kind of just wanted to talk about like the first episode of this season and just what the challenge was, because I don't know if I don't even know if I'm selling this and saying like you should watch this, but it's just like I thought it was so fun because the main challenge is basically the women had to create their own post-apocalyptic themed outfits, and they had to do it by like they were taken to this dilapidated area, and then like a whole bunch of zombies attacked them out of the adjacent buildings, and it turned out the zombies were actually the contestants from previous seasons who were done up in really excellent zombie makeup and were like acting like zombies. And so the contestants stole the clothes from them and then like ran back to the whatever and made them into the outfits that they would wear. And it's just like, what a fun, like it was a fun idea. It was like well shot to be entertaining. And you're just like, this is immediately really fun.
Yeah, they put like a Mad Max color filter on it to like make it look like really washed out. Yeah, like I think a lot of the directors and editors of these kind of shows have a good time because they get to play with that kind of stuff. And I completely agree. It was a lot of fun, and I think it was by midway through that first episode that my concern over the show, over watching and then having to talk about it, was just kind of gone. That I was just like, I am into this. I am enjoying this. This is a lot of fun. And that's something that I don't usually say when watching reality television. Like, I kind of want to use this, Matt, as like a springboard to talk about reality TV in general.
Sure.
Because that's something we've never done on this podcast before because we don't like it. Or at least I don't like it.
You know, like some I guess like the idea of it by itself isn't necessarily bad. Like there's nothing intrinsically wrong with the idea. I just think it's very rarely executed in a way that doesn't annoy the hell out of me. Yeah, it always, like you said, it feels overproduced. It feels like it's stretched out for way longer than it needs to be. And this show does that too. The winner is not announced on the grand finale episode. The winner is announced at the end of the reunion episode, because we always have to have our reunion episodes where we talk to everyone about the season. You always got to do that because you got to milk more shows out of this thing. And that kind of stuff annoyed me, and it annoyed me in RuPaul's Drag Race too. But the other stuff was so much more fun that it didn't bother me. But yeah, I mean, like, reality television shows in general and contest-based reality television shows specifically really kind of drive me crazy. I used to be a big one for Iron Chef, and I think the main difference there is that was always just a one-off. Yeah. So there was no real need for or opportunity for like huge amounts of drama between the contestants. There were usually just a small number of contestants. The drama all comes from like, are they going to do it? Uh-oh, they screwed something up. And then of course the judges judging it, and it was sort of a relatively pure form of the concept. And when you make it into a multi-show season where you do eliminations basically, I think that actually seems to introduce a lot of the stuff that I don't like, where it begins to focus a lot on really artificially amped up intercharacter, they're not characters, but interpersonal conflicts. Like I've always remembered this one like comedians reality TV show where it was like they put all the comedians together and then made them like do a comedian off where the audience would decide which of them was funnier. And the concept was really fun, and like the fact that you got to watch comedy, embedded in the show was really fun. But that it was the most flagrant example I'd ever seen of the producers clearly being like, all right, you have to be meaner to that guy because we need to have the drama part of the show. So you need to say something really passive aggressive, and then we're going to show that to him out of context to make him angry at you. And it was just like like you're making me dislike you show.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you corrected yourself when you said characters, but I think that is the problem is at the end of the day, reality TV is not real. And the one that I have the most experience with now, because I've been watching it for over 3 years, thanks to my wonderful wife, is The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and that whole series of things. And when you start watching these year over year, you realize that there's not a script to this, but there's a template. And they're going to hit the same notes every time. They're going to make one person out to be the villain, and then they're going to have one person be really like focused on taking down the villain, and then they're going to end up in like a versus situation where they're against each other and only one can stay in the show, and that's always going to happen. And you're always going to do these things. There's different things you do along the way, and it's just part of this scripted thing. And you're absolutely right that they don't normally write stuff down for them to say, but the producers will engineer situations where we can cause people to get mad at each other. I mean, there's a reason why they ply these people with alcohol, because they want to get them drunk, so they'll say stupid things to each other and get in fights, and they'll pull one away and then they'll whisper in each other's ears like, hey, what do you think about that? You really just gonna let that slide? And it's just it feels so manipulated and so fake that calling it reality TV is just so fucking it drives me crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's all the stuff that I don't like.
And you think back to like the first reality television thing I remember watching is Real World on MTV when I was a teenager. And you think back to early Real World, and it was literally just like they threw 6 people in a house and filmed it, and that was it. And that was just a new thing that we hadn't experienced before. So even though probably the first season of that show, if you watched it now, it'd be pretty dull. But we didn't try to manipulate it. We didn't try to ramp up the things. It was just, we're supposed to just experience like other people living, and we get to watch it through our TV. And that was the original idea of it. And now in the TV boom, we've just kind of pushed everything out to be more dramatic and more this, and it just makes it more fake.
Yeah, it's kind of making me think about the fact that back in those times we didn't really have YouTube, we didn't really have vloggers, right. And it was much harder to get authenticity. It was either that or nothing, basically. And now we have an enormous range of options when it comes to getting some kind of authentic view into other people's lives directly from them. And so I don't know, I guess maybe the market opportunities have shifted a bit. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the big boom for reality television in our country is when the writer's strike happened, because suddenly we had to produce all these television shows and we didn't have any writers. So reality TV was cheap to produce. It didn't require writers. So all these networks just kept pumping them out. And it's kind of, I feel like that has gone down a bit. I feel like reality TV is less popular than it was. But now American Idol's back for some reason. It's back on a different network.
I have very little sense of whether or not reality TV is more popular, but it could very well be.
I honestly don't know either. But I guess the reason why I think this show works when all those others don't is because I think it's shining light on an important group of people that don't get enough attention and don't get enough understanding, and it can be that link for people while also being this really fun and funny thing. I mean, I think RuPaul is hilarious. She's great. I love that the show goes to commercial break and comes back from commercial break with her just like cackling gleefully. It is the most hilarious thing to me. And I watched 14 episodes of the show, and every time RuPaul started cackling, I would cackle too. It drove my wife crazy. But it was funny to me every time. And her level of kind of commitment to the ridiculousness of it was just so wonderful. Like, we've already quoted some of the things she says in every episode, and they're always like ridiculously overly dramatic and funny. And I think that just kind of endeared me to the show.
Yeah, I think fun is the key word. It's like the creative vision behind the whole thing was to make something that would be fun. And I suspect at least that in many cases, the producers are giving the directive to make it more dramatic, more tense, more conflict. People love the conflict. Tune in for the conflict. And it's like, well, no, I mean, I dislike that, and I have no interest in watching that. But this is just fun, and I will tune in for that.
Yeah. One of the other things reality TV shows do that I don't like is they like when they break for commercial or at the beginning of each episode, they have like the this week on thing, and they do some really clever editing to like make drama look more dramatic than it is by like cutting dialogue together that is not from the same moment. And like, it's really manipulative and weird. I didn't see this show do that very much, which was and maybe it's because this episode took place in 2012. And maybe that's what Murder Death Hug means about like overproduced, that it in the time since this season, it's become a show like that. I hope not, but that's certainly possible.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, I'll probably read up on it a bit just to understand a bit more of why it works and where it may have gone off the rails.
Well, season 10 is starting this Thursday, ironically, on VH1. And my wife has already said, we're watching it. She's added it to the DVR because she fell in love with the show. She loved it so much. I liked it a lot. She loved it.
Cool. Then you also let me know how it is, because I have no way of watching TV.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah. I think one of the only other things I wanted to talk about with you while we're on the subject is we're talking about this whole thing with reality television being fake, and it reminded me of this television show called Unreal. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
The name sounds familiar, but I have no idea what it is.
Basically, it was started by a person who used to be a producer on The Bachelor and quit, and they started this television series. I'm trying to remember with which network it's on. It's on Lifetime Network, and they started it with Marty Noxon, who's a writer for Buffy, so that automatically got my attention. But the whole thing is it's like a television show that takes place on a fictional Bachelor-esque reality television show. So, and it's basically like with the stories from one of the creators that used to be a producer on that, like specifically targeting and attacking all the things that The Bachelor does that are shady as hell. And it's supposed to be very accurate to what actually goes on in that show. And I've only seen parts of the first season. I think my wife has watched all 3 of them, or at least all 2. I think the 3rd hasn't started yet, but I think that's really fascinating that they're having a specific kickback via this show that's kind of attacking the shady crap that these shows do.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, the episodes I watched were very good. I mean, like, you can tell they're taking swings and not being coy about it.
Yeah, I'm curious about that now. I'm probably going to spend tomorrow Wikipediaing all of these various things, because it seems like a fascinating world. Right,
and I think that's, to be honest with you, that's the coolest thing about this backer reward program that we've added for me, is I would have never watched this show. I just wouldn't have done it. And it's not because I have anything against drag queens. It's just I would never like sit down and say, I'm going to watch the reality TV show about drag queens. No matter how much I've heard through Twitter or other people that it's a great show, I probably just never would have sat down and done it. But one of our backers asked me to, and then so we did it. And I'm really, really glad we did. This was a very enjoyable experience for me.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like, part of the fun of this of this project is either with the book club where we end up reading books that we might not have read otherwise, or with this where we end up watching shows or what have you that we wouldn't have watched otherwise. It's always been a little bit stretching me in a direction that I just never would have gone on my own, and always worth it.
Yeah. All right, so before we finish this up, Matt, I think we got to talk about our favorites of our favorite competitors, because we haven't actually referred to any of these people by their name. I don't know if we're like trying not to spoil a reality television show from 2012, which and maybe that's a little silly. So who's your favorite person?
Yeah, so I guess spoilers. I just immediately liked Sharon Needles right off the bat.
Yes.
Purely based on the name at first. Like just the best name ever. And then like it was, I think it was like the very first thing that she did was make like a dress. And I was immediately like, that's kind of amazing that she made that. She either made it or she like, assembled a look based around the dress that she had found. I can't remember which, but in either case, it was like clear mastery of the artistry of it. Like you could just see like, oh, that works amazingly well.
Yeah.
And so from the get go, I was kind of on team Sharon Needles.
Yeah,
at least 80% due to her name.
That first one is the one where she like bleeds from her mouth, right?
Yes.
While she's walking down the runway, which is like, oh, holy shit. Like,
yeah.
I had only seen one episode of this thing, and I knew already that was something very different from what anyone else does. And yeah, she's the one, she has like the goth kind of look, which nobody else in the whole thing has. Like, she's constantly like putting scary contacts in her eyes, and the first time you're introduced to her, she walks in with a giant witch's hat and like thick as hell black lipstick, and you're just like, this person, what? And yeah, I think she's great. I liked the character so much. I liked the looks. Like, there were constantly like challenges. There was one where they had to like do something related to dogs, and she got assigned a poodle and like made a poodle outfit that looked great and still fell into her goth kind of sensibility. And it's just like, it was like surprising every single time.
Yeah.
But I also really liked one of the runner-ups, Chad Michaels, who was basically the Cher impersonator, because they looked exactly like Cher, and it freaked me out so much because they were Cher.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. I think she was the one who most impressed me as being like just a performer, on all dimensions, basically.
Yeah. And the other runner-up was Fifi O'Hara, which I think, Matt, was the only one that I did not like. And then I felt bad about not liking them because she told this really sad story about how her father like hates her and like refuses to acknowledge that she's doing any of this, and it just made me feel bad for not liking them. But she's the one that played the game most out of any of them. Like, she was intentionally sabotaging other contestants, and like if you're gonna have a villain, an assigned villain in the show, it was her. Yeah,
right. I mean, wasn't she the one who was basically like, look, this was for $100,000. What do you expect me to do?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I didn't come on this thing to make friends. I came to win $100,000.
Yeah, which I found very compelling.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my other favorite, Matt, Jiggly Caliente.
Yeah.
The large man from Queens who looked exactly like Snooki from Jersey Shore, and then in one episode actually dressed up like Snooki from Jersey Shore, and it was perfect. They're just like, they're so characters and they're so fun, and I feel like the competition itself is pretty relentlessly positive, which I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah. I mean, even though there were moments of snark between them, it always seemed to very quickly like recalibrate back to the light tone.
Yeah,
which is difficult to do, actually.
There's specific competitions where they had to talk shit about each other. Like, that's the competition. Yeah. And they talked mad shit. Like, they were mean. And then everyone laughed. The competition's over, and then they're fine. And maybe it's just like they cut out all the bitchiest moments. That's possible. But I don't know. I thought it was fun and positive, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I also liked Latrice Royale, who was the one who won Miss Congeniality, and I completely agreed with that, because I was like, this is just a likable human being. Yeah.
Latrice was great. Apparently Latrice comes back because they have you'll be shocked to hear that they have all-stars versions of this, which are which every reality television show has, where all the previous contestants come back and compete again.
Right.
And Latrice was on it, apparently.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Latrice and I think Chad came back. Chad Michaels is so funny to me because all of them have like really ostentatious names like Fifi O'Hara and Jiggly Caliente and Madame LeQueer and the Princess, and then there's just Chad Michaels.
Yeah.
Which is his real name. His name is just like in real life. His name is Chad Michaels, like out of character too. And he's just like, when I'm gonna be in drag, I'm just gonna be me, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's bold, I suppose. Yeah, I like it.
What'd you feel about Willem? That's the last one I want to talk about. Willem was the one that like had the body of a woman.
Yeah,
and was an actor.
I mean, she was definitely the most like attention grabbing, and I actually thought that she was going to be like the way this show was structured. You kind of feel like, it's another reality TV trope is that you can often tell who's going to win just by who the show is giving airtime to.
That's true, yeah.
And it was paying so much attention to her that I felt like she was going to win, but then dramatically was disqualified.
For banging her husband.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I didn't have a strong opinion one way or the other than like she had a strong personality, and I was like, this is probably going to be in the top people who last through the show. She lasts about halfway through.
Yeah. All right, that is RuPaul's Drag Race season 4. I hope we did that justice. I learned so much, and I was fascinated by it all. I thought it was such a blast.
Yeah, me too.
And the lip singing contests were so fun.
Yeah,
they really got into it.
Yeah. Like the first episode, I didn't really know what to expect, and I was like, "This sounds like it's going to be lame," but it was actually fun. It was fun, just as fun as anything.
Yeah, when you hear RuPaul say "lip sync for your life," you're just like, really? That's how you're going to decide this? And then they start performing, and you're like, they can. I mean, that's like being a drag queen. I've learned is a lot of work. Like that's what we said at the beginning, that like. You have to be able to sew. You have to be able to create looks, know your body type, know fashion, know like the amount of shaving and plucking and waxing that goes into this thing must be ridiculous. And you have to be able to perform too. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Let's move on to our next section, Matt. Let's talk about what we have been watching.
What have you been watching? What have I been watching? Well, I asked you first, so you better tell me.
So besides this show, what have you been watching, Matt?
I haven't watched anything recently. I've been playing a lot of Mario Galaxy.
Mario Galaxy or the Switch one?
I mean the Switch one, Mario...
Odyssey,
yes.
Let's talk about that. Because I played that game too, and I really like it. And I don't think we've ever talked about that game on here.
Yeah, my little boy has been he's finally graduated from asking me to do everything for him to finally actually doing it himself. And
oh, that's good.
Yeah, and like I can already see that now that the training wheels are off, it's all over because I've gone from wanting him to stop asking me to help to being like, okay, it's time for you to stop playing. Which
here we go.
Now we're there. Yeah. But it's such an incredibly well-designed game. And it's just kind of constantly delightful. Like the main thing that delights you is that you'll find a new kind of thing that you can possess with your hat.
Yeah.
Which is the main mechanic of the game. And then it's like, a little mini game basically that is using this new thing to do new things that you hadn't thought of before.
Yeah, I that's such a wonderful, clever central gimmick. And like the one thing, I have a lot of frustrations with Nintendo as a company. I think they make a lot of weird decisions that I don't understand, but their desire to put fun in front of everything, like in front of graphic fidelity, and it's like the whole goal is let's do what's fun. And so it's like they come up with this concept that's like, okay, you have this hat and you can possess people with your hat, and they just say, let's find all the ways which this can be fun as hell. And that's what Mario Odyssey is.
Yeah, my favorite example of that is like the whole aesthetic of the whole game is cartoonish. Actually, I shouldn't say the whole game, but almost everything is cartoonish. And then just interspersed into that is just like a photorealistic T-Rex for you to possess. And it's like, that's awesome.
Right.
And someone was like, well, shouldn't the T-Rex be cartoonish? And then someone was like, wouldn't it be more fun if the T-Rex was photorealistic? And then that was the end of the conversation.
Yep. And I don't know how far you and your son are, but have you gotten to New Donk City?
Yeah, we just got there. And then I'm basically letting him drive, and he actually took the ship back to like the first level, and so we're just like getting moons on the first level, the first world again. Even though we got to the New Donk City. So.
Yeah, that place is crazy because it's like just like the T-Rex. It's like you're just in like basically New York City with like normal shaped human beings and Mario. And there's no explanation for why these people look like normal people and then Mario looks like him. And then you throw your hat at a human being and just possess a man in a business suit. It's like presumably on his way to work. And it's just so ridiculous, but it doesn't matter. It's just fun. It's just solid fun the entire time. I love it. I'm so glad I bought a Switch to play this game. I still haven't gotten Zelda, which I'll get to eventually, but for now, I'm happy with my purchase just from this game alone.
Yeah, I agree completely. We also got the Lego game, but I think this game is probably better for my son's age, and I just think it's more fun also.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, my thing, Matt. I saw Tomb Raider, the Alicia Vikander reboot of the video game-based film.
Did you love
it? Directed by, what was his name? I forgot his name, but he directed The Wave, which is a Norwegian disaster film that's actually really good. No, I did not love this movie. I didn't hate it, though. I think it's just fine. I think I gave it 2.5 stars on Letterboxd out of 5, so exactly middle of the road. There are some interesting moments in this. This is based off the 2013 reboot of the franchise, so it's a much more realistic-looking Lara Croft. And it's kind of like her origin story, and that's the same thing the movie is. It kind of, you start with Laura as a poor person, being a bike courier on the streets of London, and then she gets swept up into this thing her father was doing with this magical island and this curse, and she raids some tombs.
Cool.
But the problem this thing has is the problem that any kind of video game adaptation has, which is that the story is always kind of thin and boring, and they tried to bolster it here by basically copying from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is fine, but I've seen that movie before. and I just think so they want to be like focus on a better story, but they also want to pull in the video gamey stuff. So there's moments where the action gets almost, you look like you're playing a video game, except you're not. You're just watching. So it loses the interactivity, which is the best part of the game. So I don't know. It just doesn't work. A lot of the action is kind of like over composited to where it looks fake, but which it would work in a game, but you're not playing it. So, I mean, I think Alicia Vikander is a very good actress, and she does a pretty good job here. She's kind of way more gruffer and like not as like, she doesn't look like Angelina Jolie, that's for sure. And but this feels like a movie that was just built to set up a franchise. Like, we did this thing and now it's time for the real tomb raiding next.
So I'm guessing this is not a recommend.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
My wife loved it. She loved it, but she loves Alicia Vikander and she loves Tomb Raider. So
I'll probably pass then.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it feels like a Friday night HBO watch, because you'll get enough entertainment out of it to sit down and watch it, but to head out to the theater to see it, I would not.
Yeah, from the trailer, it actually looked watchable, so I guess I'm mildly disappointed to hear that.
There are worse video game movies, for sure, than this. This is exactly middle of the road, so.
Okay.
All right. That's all we had for you guys this week. If you have any questions or comments, or just want to let us know what you think about RuPaul's Drag Race, you can reach out to us via email at dailyplanetfilms@gmail.com or on Twitter at Daily Planet Films. We do try to respond to just about every message we get, so feel free to reach out.
Yeah, if you're not already subscribed to this podcast, we encourage you to do so and ensure you never miss an episode. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else podcasts can be found.
Absolutely. We have tons of great content here and more coming every single day. You can find all of the shows we do and more over at dailyplanetfilms.com. If you like what we do here and want to support us, consider becoming a patron of the Daily Planet. You can pledge $1 a month or whatever else you can afford to help ensure we keep growing and keep making new stuff. This entire episode, Matt, only exists because MurderDeatHug was generous enough to pledge to us at the Kryptonian level. So you too, out there, can make us watch whatever you want. And as you see from this episode, it literally is just about whatever you want. Even anime, Matt. I keep letting people do this and they keep not picking it. So that's two times now we've escaped.
Yeah, we escaped
I don't
from that trap.
I don't think this is gonna hold. But you can head on over to patreon.com/dailyplanetfilms and check all the rewards and everything out there.
Yeah. Also, please consider rating and reviewing us on iTunes. Every review helps us get more exposure and introduces new people to the content we make here.
That's right. That's all we have for you guys this week. Next time, Matt, I had originally planned for us to do an Isle of Dogs episode, but then I remembered that you're going to be in my neck of the woods next weekend for your brother's wedding.
Uh-huh.
And it just so happens to be our 100th episode coming up that same weekend.
That is an amazing coincidence.
So I figure we could do something a little different. Also, Isle of Dogs isn't actually out in Dallas until next Tuesday. I looked at the wrong date when I was scheduling these. So,
I see.
So I had to get creative. Either way, make sure you guys tune in next Monday for a very special episode. We're going to figure out what we're going to do to celebrate 100 episodes of the Daily Planet podcast. It's going to be great. And we will see you all next week.
Podcast is over. It's done. We hope you all had some fun. Go back to your work or your school. Maybe the gym. Hey, that's cool. Regardless, just go away. But please come back next Friday.